Hey guys, this is Sharad with REsimpli. I'm super excited to have Vaughn in this call with us today on this podcast. He's been using REsimpli for a long time. Super successful investor. I wanted to bring him on and get his experience, all the experience that he has, just find out kind of how he can help us, share his knowledge and all the wisdom that he's gained over the years. So welcome, Vaughn. How are you doing, man?
Hi, man. I'm doing great. Blessed. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming on this call. Just let's get us started, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where do you live, what kind of investing do you do, what markets, and then how long have you been investing for?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm in the Greenville, South Carolina market. I've been investing since 2018, so August 2018. So just hit the little over 4-year mark.
Nice, congratulations.
Thanks. Come a long way.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of success in that 4.5 years. So, but yeah, when I first started, I was trying to figure out, I've always had a passion for real estate or wanted to get into it some way, shape, form, or fashion. But like most people, when I started, I didn't have any money. So I had to figure out how to make money from no money. And that's when I found wholesaling.
Cool. So you're doing wholesaling, and are you just in one market?
I started out primarily wholesaling that first 2 years, and once I figured out what I was doing, we've become somewhat successful, but I look at it now as I have an acquisitions company. So to speed up a little bit, we actually have 6 different companies in the real estate investing space that are all different verticals that feed off our acquisitions company. So I spent probably the entire 2021 in the first half of this year, just building a team, building out systems, tools, and processes to get really good at finding off-market properties and finding the seller, getting in touch with that seller, and then building a relationship to either get the property under contract for the lowest possible cash price or the best creative deal that's a win-win for both parties.
Cool. Awesome, man. You said you started 4 years ago looking into real estate, but why did you choose to be a real estate investor? Why not some other profession?
Well, I've owned multiple businesses in the last 20 years, but my main one is I used to be in the fitness business industry. So I went to college and got a degree in health and exercise science. And I did an internship between my junior and senior year as a personal trainer, as a one-on-one personal training facility. And it was just natural progression that when I finished, I started building up a clientele. So yeah, I just continued to do that.
And then you transitioned into real estate from there?
No, not directly. So,
right.
This was 2003. I graduated in May 2003. In June 2003, I started my own fitness, personal training and sports performance company.
Nice.
I had 23 clients that I built up through that internship and then doing some part-time work. When I opened up the doors to my first personal training facility in January of 2005, I had those 23 clients. We opened up a 4,000 square foot space. And then just to speed things up a little bit, 11 years later, August of 2016, I had a staff of 14 and 350 clients.
Oh, wow.
And we were booming, but I had built a business that ran me and not a business that I ran. So right. I literally got to the point where, I was just stressed mentally, physically. It's funny because like a lot of personal trainers and business owners I know in the personal training space or fitness space,
right.
They get to that point where they're so stressed out, they don't take care of themselves.
Right. I was going to say, you're in the health and fitness industry and you're not taking care of yourself and you're taking care of these 350 clients.
Yeah. So without going into too many details, I just got to the point where physically it almost put me in the hospital. It affected my relationships and just causing a lot of tension in my marriage. And I had 2 young kids at home. So, and I'm talking, a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Wow.
And I wasn't spending much time with them. So I walked away.
Right.
I walked away. The stress got too much and there's things that were more important. So after that, I just tried to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And my dad owned a construction company. He still does for as long as I can remember. Yeah, back my history in renovations or real estate and construction was my dad, when I was a teenager, if I wanted to make some extra money, he was like, all right.
Okay. So that's where you have that inclination towards real estate. Okay, that's awesome. And I didn't know about the fitness industry stuff. That's interesting.
Yeah, back in the day though, I hated the real estate industry because I could my relationship was construction,
your dad,
digging ditches and doing manual labor and all that stuff. And then became an adult, started building businesses and just saw, a lot of people were talking about investing in real estate and rental properties. And I had a friend that was flipping houses at the time. So I started living vicariously through her.
It's awesome, man. And obviously that's how, like, your dad was in construction business and then just kind of doing online research. You don't want to get into construction, but you want to do something with real estate. It's fantastic, man. Yeah.
Exactly.
Congrats on all the success, man, in the last 4 years. That's amazing.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to ask you some real estate investing questions again, like we talked about before the call. The purpose is to help someone who's just, getting started, overwhelmed, just give them like, the best thing about like each of the questions that I'm going to ask. Okay. All right. If you were starting with everything that if you were starting brand new, or if you were, telling a new investor that if you could only pick one marketing channel to use in your business, which one would it be and why?
It's the same one that still brings us the majority of our prospects. And I started with Driving for Dollars because at that point in time, I didn't have any money. So you needed to do grassroots marketing. And the easiest thing I can do was go out and drive neighborhoods and try to find distressed properties. And then figure out how to get in touch with the seller. Still to this point in our primary market, right now we're in 4 different markets. It's still our number one prospector. So I have 2 full-time drivers. I don't do any of the driving myself, but I got 2 full-time drivers, and our average cost per lead right now, I think the last time I checked, today, or it's like $35, $36 per lead.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic.
And then with our average cost per deal being about $1,400-$1,500.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And what's the one list you would pull if you were starting out?
So starting out list, I know it sounds cliche, but absentee owners, and knowing what I know now, that to be able to have a Driving for Dollars software or, with Google Maps or whatever, to be able to drive to those properties and see which ones were physically distressed in the hot zip codes of my primary market. Because I truly believe that get eyes on a property, the more distressed it is, the more motivated the seller's going to be.
Absolutely.
And especially if it's an absentee owner and they don't live there, and a lot of times they haven't seen the property in a while.
Right.
So
especially if it's vacant. Yeah.
So if somehow you can get a real-time photo or a recent photo in their hands, that increases their motivation.
So once you pull the list, how are you reaching out to them? Are you like sending direct mail, cold call, texting?
Right now, we like to trim our list down as fast as possible, right? When we pull a list or when we get a Driving for Dollars list, the first thing that we'll do is, and this wasn't at the beginning because I didn't have the budget to do direct mail, but right now, the first thing we do is a triple whammy approach. Houses that are in our hot zip codes in our primary market, right off the bat, we start sending them postcards. We also start text messaging and cold calling them at the same time because we want to get in touch with them as fast as possible because they're in a hot zip code, right?
Right.
And then everything else, if they're not in a hot zip code, we'll start off as text messaging, SMS, or cold calling. Our process right now is to reach out and trim that list down as fast as possible. Is we do a text, call, text, call. And if we still can't get in touch with the owner or the seller, then we go direct mail. And that's based off the cost per lead generation, right?
Right.
So texting is the cheapest, cold calling, and then direct mail.
Makes sense. And if you were starting out, which is the first team member that you would hire in your business?
I would say it's the same as when I had my other businesses, and especially in the fitness business, all about coaching. And I've had a coach since 2008 that is industry specific. But no matter what industry I've been in, their recommendation and mine the same is it doesn't really change. But I think the first hire for most people is going to be an executive assistant or admin assistant. Right. And it's all the things that we don't like to do. You can start delegating those things to free up your time for the things that you do like to do and are good at.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Looking back at kind of over 4 years, everything that you've done, is there anything that you look back and say, man, I really shouldn't have done this thing in my business at all? Is there anything that stands out?
And that's a hard question, right? Because we learn from our mistakes, and it's from those mistakes or failures and how we fell forward that you're like, I probably wouldn't do anything different because I wouldn't be where I am. But partnerships, I started this business with 2 partners that were friends, and we didn't set clear expectations or who was going to fill what seed and all that stuff. We're just like most other businesses or partnerships are formed. Hey, let's work together. Well, it turned out, after a year or almost a year, when I commit to something, I'm all in head first.
Right.
And they were looking for something that was more part-time because they're older than me, and one of them was retired. The other one was, had a rental portfolio and was getting some passive income. But that didn't become clear until, I finally had the nerve or the guts to bring up my concerns, which was I feel like I'm doing 90% of the work, but I'm splitting everything 3 ways.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah. Oh man, thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
I think. So I bought out my two partners in the first year, or within a year of
And
starting
then
our
been
business.
solo since then?
100%.
Cool.
And I say that I'm 100% owner in most of my businesses, especially my
Right.
core business.
Right.
But I do have partners in some of the other verticals. So
Got it.
I think once you get to a certain point, it's important to bring on partners and, that you trust, and they're better at things than you are, but then you can just focus on supporting them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with that. Like bringing somebody that you've been working with for a long time and they've earned your trust, then you give them, then they've earned the right to be a partner. Like I have a property management company and I've, made my main property manager partner in the company just because she's earned the right. It didn't start off from day one, but she's definitely earned the right to do that. And what's the one way you would go about building your buyers list?
So I know if we're list pulling, first thing I do is always go search recent cash sales over the last 12 months, and then just pull those and start reaching out to them. And, we approach things differently. Now, with SMS or cold calling, one of the biggest things you can't do is reach out to sell somebody something, right?
Right.
So even if we do have a deal to sell, when we get in touch with that potential cash buyer, we found them based on the property that they bought.
Got it.
So our first question is, are they interested in selling that property? Even though that we know there's probably a 99% chance that they don't want to sell it. And then we transition into, well, are you looking at buying more properties?
Got it. And then you're doing that based on people you only get responses from?
Yeah. So right now it's mainly just, whether it's cold reach out or, we do a lot of stuff as far as building our cash buyers list on social media, and things such as that. But yeah, if I'm just going into a new market, which we're opening up 5 more markets before the end of the year, I'm pulling lists, that's just for sellers. But as we build cash buyers, we're also marketing for them as well, and doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's a really smart way, man. And for somebody who's starting out, would you suggest them to go on in-person appointments or make offers over the phone?
That's one thing I wish I'd have did different starting out. And COVID really changed our business model for the better. And we've been able to grow exponentially since then. But we were going in person before COVID.
All properties?
For all appointments, all properties before COVID. And then COVID forced everything to happen over the phone because people didn't want us in their house and we didn't want to go in their house. Right. So now everything that we do is on the phone. Even in our, a house could be, 100 yards away from our office, but we want to do it over the phone because this is a numbers volume type business. And we noticed that when we were doing in-person appointments, it could be a 3-hour block of time just to talk to one seller. Right. Because you had to drive there, you spend about an hour, hour and a half at the property, building a relationship, going over the property, figuring out their pain points and all that good stuff. And then you got another half hour back. Right. And for the return on investment of time, you're kind of pressured to want somebody, even if it was just me, come out of that appointment with a contract. Right. And then you're also pre-qualifying, by just making an offer. That's what we've noticed in our business. Yeah. So now that we do everything over the phone, we have a really dialed in 3-step sales process. Our guys aren't even allowed to make an offer on the first call. The first call is about fact finding and building a relationship and getting them to know, like, and trust us. But it takes an average of 15 minutes on that first call. Well, once they get off the phone, they can talk to 3 more sellers in an hour. So 4 sellers in an hour as opposed to 1 over the course of 3 hours. Right.
And then you guys do your due diligence and then just make an offer. Are you making an offer just like verbally, or you actually send a purchase agreement?
So in our sales process, once that person, our acquisition specialist, gets off the phone on the first call, they had to pre-qualify them. So condition of the property, which is the big one. That's how we make our offer based on repair estimates, what their true motivation is, their timeline to sell, right? And then getting the price out of them of what they ideally would like to get. Right. And then it goes to our underwriting department. And we put our offers together based on those numbers, the condition, the repair estimate, and then recent cash buyer sales or ARV. And then that goes back to the acquisition specialist who already has a call set up and within 24 hours the next day, typically, with a price range, right? Okay. So if we come back and, we know that our maximum allowable offer is, let's say, $75,000, right. Our guys are going to go back to the seller and tell them, hey, your file just came back across my desk from underwriting based on the, repairs we'd have to make considering the condition of the property that you said it was in and recent, cash sales or the value of the property. We're probably going to be around $60,000 to $70,000. Does that surprise you? and
Right.
just wait for a response, right? Yeah, notice we said our maximum allowable offer is 75. So
Right.
we're still anchoring a little bit low, and we still have
Right.
room for negotiation.
Right. But how do you verify the condition of the property? I'm curious about that. Like, sellers, of course, think their property is in fantastic
100%.
condition. Yeah. How do
Yeah,
you
so
like manage that?
everybody, yeah, their good condition is a lot different than our good condition, right?
Yeah. Hey, just
So
a small 1 foot hole in the ceiling. Not a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we explain to them that up front, and that's what I preach to my acquisition guys is the reason you need to spend time on that first call is not just pre-qualifying them, it's building a relationship, but it's setting clear expectations and getting advanced agreements.
Right.
So one of those advanced agreements is, okay, when they leave that first call, thanks, Sherrod. I appreciate you taking the time with me today. I think I got all the information that I need. Let me explain to you what happens next. And if we come to an agreeable price, we sign an agreement. The first thing that happens is we send somebody out there, one of our internal inspectors, to get eyes on the property, take pictures, do a walkthrough, and just verify it's in the condition that you said it was in. Now, if somebody asks us, well, why don't you make an offer, or why don't you send somebody out before we sign the contract? Well, we tell them, like, when we send somebody out, that's costing us money, and we need a commitment from you that if this is what it says it is, that we can move forward. So until we get a commitment from you in the form of a signed agreement, we can't invest money to send somebody out there.
Got it. So you would get a signed contract and then send somebody out there to verify. Interesting.
Yeah. And then the best part of that is, like, once somebody signs an agreement with you, and mentally in their head, they've already sold the property.
Right. A lot more open
So
to negotiation at that point.
100%. So if something does pop up and you need to go back to negotiate, you've already built a relationship, you already have a signed agreement. They probably don't want to go through that whole sales process again.
Right.
So they're much more apt to to drop in price.
Makes sense. Worst deal of your life and lesson learned from it.
So I always tell people that I can't stand flipping. I'm not a flipper. I hate flipping. And for me, our average deal profit is around 20 grand. And we can move a wholesale deal or an assignment in, let's say, 30, 45 days. We do 8 or 10 of those a month, whereas in our area, in our market in upstate South Carolina, the average flipper makes a profit of about 35 to 40 grand. And it takes them 6 to 9 months.
Right.
So I say, I hate managing contractors. I'm not the guy that wants to pick out fixtures and I also don't like to wait for my money. So why would I do a flip? The first flip I did, I partnered with 2 people, and I just said, hey, listen, I'll invest the money. You guys handle it. And it ended up working all right. But I only made, after we split everything, I made like 12 grand. Right. So it's like $36,000 profit. And it took 7 months. And I'm like, why the heck did I just, wait 7 months to get 12 grand? But I was like, okay, I didn't have to really do anything. The second one I did, same thing. I partnered with somebody, let them handle it, all that stuff. And after 8 months, I walked away with 4 grand.
Wow.
And I said, I'm not flipping anymore. I don't like flips. And, right now we do what we call I call it the owner finance flip. Because our main exit strategy is owner financing and providing a dream of home ownership. But those flips per se is just major systems, right? So we're not doing any finishes, HGTV type stuff. It's just making sure that all the major systems are good. And
the house is functional, basically.
Yeah, we're providing them with solid bones to build upon. But we already have a buyer that's willing to go in and put sweat equity into the property, improve my collateral, all that good stuff. And we have a waiting list of buyers right now. So yeah, that's the extent of the renovations that I want to do.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. All right. Best deal of your life and lesson learned.
That's a tough one. We do so many deals, and you learn lessons in every single one of them, right? We did one deal that we profited. I think our largest assignment fee was $78,000. And probably the lesson learned on that one is I really had to work with my acquisition specialist to make sure that he anchored low, and then show him the spread that you can make when you anchor low, and helping them understand that what we believe is something and what our beliefs are and how we will react is not how the seller would react.
Yeah. That's very good information, man.
Yeah. You can't look at the deals from, fogged up glasses and how you would respond and, how you would get emotional to it. It may be that they're 100% okay with that, and whatever we think is not a deal or too low, it might be a great deal for them. Absolutely. Because they need that speed and convenience. So
yeah, absolutely. No, that makes sense, man. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. All right,
My
moving
pleasure.
on to some personal questions. What do you do for fun?
That's an interesting question. I get asked that one all the time, right? So for me, I love building businesses and I
Right.
love helping other people and I love seeing other people become successful. So that is fun to me. But also I got to be cognizant as I have a family,
Right.
right? Me and my wife are celebrating our 17-year wedding anniversary next week.
Oh,
20,
congratulations, man.
Thank you. 21 years together. So when I started in real estate and formed this company, a big thing for me was freedom
Right.
and freedom to spend time with my family. And so I don't do work on the weekends and I refuse to do anything after 5 o'clock unless it's just super pressing.
Right.
So just being able to go and see my daughter's a freshman in high school right now. My son's in fifth grade and I've been able to attend all my daughter's bands. She's in the marching band. So
That's
the football
awesome, man.
games and my son's all his soccer games and now he's doing parkour and then being able to travel a lot now with my wife and my family. And I think for me, traveling is what's fun and
That's
having
awesome,
my
man.
family
Yeah.
with me. Because I travel with my mastermind groups and things like that, but it's not the same
It's not the
when you
same.
don't have
Yeah.
your family.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. You feel like something's missing. Yeah. Congratulations on, man, being able to
Thank
like
you.
really spend some quality time with your family and kids. That's amazing. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. At the end of the day, nobody's going to look at their life and be like, man, I wish I'd done one more deal.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
exactly.
All right. What's the one book that has had the biggest influence in your life? It could be personal or business book.
Well, I have to say for me, and it's a relevation to where I am now, is back in, I want to say it's around 2000, somewhere between 2005 and 2008. I read the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Oh, yeah.
And he talks about, putting systems, tools, and processes in place and building the
Right.
franchise prototype. And whether you want to sell your business or not want to sell your business, you have to structure it in a way where if you had to hire a teenager
Right.
to fill in the position,
Right.
that they can just jump in and follow the manual, follow the processes. I think as real estate investors, we miss that part a lot.
Oh, big
And
time.
we just we
Yeah.
get so busy in the day to day and we grow, but then we realize that the business is running us and us running them,
Right.
right? And so sometimes you have to pull back the reins and slow down a little bit and look at everything from a 30,000-foot view and then map out those systems, tools, and processes so you can put people in place to take that hat off and give it to them and
Absolutely.
delegate and
Yeah.
elevate, right? But I'm not wired that way as far as really detailed oriented and putting that stuff together, but I understand the importance of it. So I was able to stretch myself and it was a big stretch, but to, take the time to put those things in place. But once they got in place, we've skyrocketed in our growth and scale.
It's incredible, man. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very tough thing to do in the business. I feel like as like real estate investor, we're just naturally entrepreneur and we feel like, man, we have to hustle for the sake of hustle, but not put
Yep.
systems in process. And I was just having a conversation with an investor this morning. I said, he was asking me what marketing channel. I said, look, doesn't matter. Just pick any marketing channel. At the end of the day, they all work. But just
Yep.
if you're not following a process, then don't do anything because then nothing is going to work at the end of the day. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
that's like we're entrepreneurs. It's always the shiny object, right?
Yo,
And
my
so
God,
when I teach my students now, our number one word when starting out is focus.
yeah.
An acronym that we use for focus is follow one course until successful.
Until successful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So
And
like
that's
that's
the biggest
yeah.
challenge we deal with. I feel like we're the biggest bottleneck we have in our business.
In our acquisitions business, we know that finding deals and getting really good at finding deals is the key to success in any real estate company.
Right.
So we just got really dialed in on that acquisitions piece and got focused on it to the point where we currently have 31 deals in escrow, right? We're getting, on average 20 to 25 deals locked up a month in escrow under contract. Not all of them go through. That's just
Right.
the nature of the beast.
Nature
but
of it, yeah.
we don't have problems finding deals right now. Our biggest problem is funding all of our deals, right?
Funding all of
Especially
it,
with the owner financing, we can't go to a bank, so we
Right.
can't get institutional funding for, to turn around and sell it on a wrap or contract for deeds. So
Absolutely, man. Yeah. All right, this is a fun question. If you could spend a day with anyone, dead or alive, who would you want to spend the day with and why?
well, I'm a big believer. So Jesus,
All right.
and I would say definitely talk to him and say, I would ask him, what are the plans you have for me? Because I'm trying to figure out that purpose. I believe he's manifested that to me.
Right.
He's never 100% sure, but I think we're all, striving to be in when, our time is up, to be seeing that shining light and walking through the gates of heaven. So,
Absolutely,
that's the
man.
first person that comes to mind.
Oh, that's great, man. It's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. All right. Thank you
Pleasure.
for everything you've shared. Now, how can somebody who's listening to this podcast get in touch with you? And you can give the information.
Yeah. I mean, probably the easiest way is on Facebook. Sending me a private message on Facebook, or I think I'm about to hit that 5,000 friend limit. But that's the platform. I'm old, right? Yeah, that's the platform I'm most active on.
They're not on Snapchat, TikTok, whatever new thing is out there, right?
Not on either one of those. I think my Facebook does copy or paste to Instagram, but I'm on Facebook a lot, and that's the easiest way for people to reach out to me.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing, man. This was really, really great call. You shared so much great information. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man.